Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia and a quick update from the Donetsk Front. Particularly, we're talking about Olenivka. So, if you don't know where's Olenivka, there's actually this Donetsk city in Donetsk Oblast in Ukraine, and this is Olenivka. This is where the POWs are kept by the Russians for prisoner exchange with the Ukrainians. The POWs here originates from Mariupol, in the Battle of Mariupol here. So I have already covered this once, and then there are new updates coming out for the Olenivka. So finally we have the Ukrainian statement on Olenivka. So the Ukrainian there's a special communications channel. They say that the security service of the Ukraine intercepted telephone conversations where they say that they can confirm that the Russian troops are the one to blame for this tragedy. So the Ukraine, so for the SBU, this is SBU, you had always say they have intercepted telephone conversations, and they even have recordings, but sometimes I really cannot tell if these recordings are faked or are they real or are they authentic. So this kind of thing, I really can't tell. So which is why sometimes this kind of thing I suggest everyone to take a pinch of salt, because all these things can be faked. Anyway, they say that there are several such audio intercept at the disposal of the SBU, which is the Security Service of Ukraine, and they will be used as evidence in criminal proceedings. The Russians are also doing criminal proceedings about Olenivka strike. So let's see whose court will win. Anyway, so they judge by the conversation of the militants, which is pointing to the Donetsk People's Republic soldiers. They said that the Russians could have arranged this tragedy with using explosives that they placed in the premise of the colony. They say that in particular, none of the witnesses heard missiles fly to the building. So there is also no characteristic whistle, and the explosion occurred on their own. So, and they then look at the videos published by the Russians, and they say that the traces of the explosion on the walls is most likely a result of internal source of the explosion, which is nonsensical to me, because a missile dropping into the building, explode within the building, is still an internal source of explosion. So that is pretty rubbish. There is a lot of evidence that they say, as May said, the armed forces of Ukraine did not inflict missile or artillery strike on the area of Olenivka. So they said that all statements from the Russian propaganda about the shellings are outright lies and provocations. So this is the first statement that I saw that came out. The Russian Ministry of Defense then doubled down on their position. They say that they continue to say it's a HIMARS strike, and they say that this is a deliberate missile strike from the Ukrainian side that killed and injured most of the 193 Ukrainian prisoners. So of the updated figures of the as of 30th July morning, 50 Ukrainians were killed, and 48 of the POWs were found and recovered from under the rubble. There's 2 more POWs died from serious wounds on the way to the hospital. 73 POWs are taken to a medical facility with serious injuries. All of them are given medical treatment. So the name of those killed and wounded by these missile strikes are published on the official information resources of the Russian Defense Ministry. So they then started to blame the Zelensky personally for all the political, criminal, and moral responsibility for the carnage against these POWs, and they also blamed the United States. So then the Ukrainian another organization called I think this is the Defense Information Unit. So this is the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine. So the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine, they said that the Red Cross and the United Nations should act as guarantor on the preservation of life and health of the Ukrainian POWs and should initiate an international investigation into this crime and to punish all those involved. So they wanted international inspection to check the conditions of the POWs. And then they continue to say, of course, this crime violates international law or whatever things. And then they say that there must be a punishment for those that involved in this planning. So then the Russians invite the UN and the Red Cross to conduct investigation on the attack on the detention center. So this is kind of funny because the Ukrainians say the UN and Red Cross must come in, and then the Russians immediately invited them to investigate the attack on the detention center. So finally, we have a joint statement from the Ukrainian side. So this joint statement is made together from the Ukraine military, the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the SBU, the DIU, the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine, the Commissioner of Human Rights of the Verkhovna Rada. So this is their parliament. So their parliament's Commissioner for Human Rights. So they concluded that in the night of the July 29th, the previous prison at Olenivka, there was an explosion. So they didn't say it's an attack, it says it's an explosion. And is the building of the Ukrainian POWs were kept and it was destroyed. So they say according to the Russians, more than 50 Ukrainian defenders were killed. So a number of wounded is unknown, which you know because I just reported that. And then according to the comments on the Russian side, there is not a single employee of or DPA militants or Russian soldiers guarding the premises. I'm not sure if this is actually true. So my understanding, there is around 7 or 9 Russian employees or whoever there is there injured. But of course, they all did not die, so that's why it raises suspicion. Immediately after the blast, the Russians accused the Ukrainians of shelling the colony, which is the prison, with American weapons and killing Ukrainian soldiers. So in this joint statement, they declare that this explosion is actually a cynical terrorist act of the Russian Federation and a military provocation and a false flag operation. And the purpose is to conceal war crimes and discredit the armed forces of Ukraine, to disrupt the supply of Western weapons and increase social tension in the Ukrainian society. Wow. So okay, so the Ukrainians strike exclusively at Russian military facilities, warehouse with fuel, weapon, ammunition, command posts, and military infrastructure, which we all know that is not exactly true. Not fully true. Of course they hit all these things, but they hit more than that. But never mind, because I cannot say on YouTube. And the Ukraine army has sufficient means to identify targets, which is actually true, including space reconnaissance system, which actually does not belong to them. And but the Ukraine did not launch missile artillery shelling on Olenivka. And to be honest, they might actually be speaking the truth too, because no one can really tell what is actually happening there on that night. So point number 3 is a nonsensical thing that I don't think I need to say. Be just saying that all these UN and Red Cross guaranteeing the things and whatever the things that's supposed to happen, and then the conditions why this is done and all these things. Then on the night, they say that the Russians organized the murder of these POWs. So they say that this is a planned crime and commissioned by the Russian side. And then they have somehow, they know that there's a deliberate transfer of fighters to a new room shortly before the explosion. Very interesting. I do not know how they know. And based on the analysis of the nature of the damage and the movement of the blast wave without being there, just looking at the videos, and interception of telephone conversations, which I have no idea whether they can actually intercept, and the lack of shelling in the specific place and others. So, but if it's HIMARS, there won't be shelling on these locations. I mean, HIMARS is very accurate. So they say as a result, they leave no doubt the explosion is a Russian terrorist act and gross violation of international agreement. So they demand what the Russians have already requested the UN and Red Cross do. Yeah, and then to investigate. But somehow what the Ukrainians want is a bit different. So they want the UN and Red Cross to guarantee the life and health of the POWs, and then they want the UN and the Red Cross and the Commissioner for the Human Rights of their parliament and the representative of their own joint center for search and release of prisoners to this colony. So they want Ukrainian people, the Ukrainian side people, to actually come to this place and for the purpose of inspection. So I don't think this will happen. I don't think the Russians will allow the Ukrainians to come over because they already say there is a HIMARS strike. So this is the quick update for the situation over at Olenivka. So not sure if will there be an episode 3 to this. We shall see. If there's more information, I will let you know. And I'll see you in the next update.